going on, man? Today is April the 17th, 2024. It's your boy Chris, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn NBA Show, where we're live on Twitter, also live on YouTube as well. About 8:34 over here on the East Coast. And we got two play-in games for today. We also, I just I want to apologize because I didn't put a timeline out for when I was going to do like series prices and get into some of the series bets, but I really it's been hectic, man. A lot been going on. A lot's been going on. So I haven't really had a chance to like run all my numbers. And, whenever I give out plays, I always want to feel, I feel super confident in the plays that I'm giving out. And I'm just going to come on here and tell you guys a whole bunch of, just something in general. So my apologies for that. But when I do the show, I want to do it right. So it'll probably come either later on today or tomorrow. But we will get into some series prices and start breaking down some of these series as far as the spots that we know already. Now, of course, we had the Lakers win yesterday, so they'll get Denver in the first round. And then we also had who took care of business? No, nobody else took care of business. We also got the play-in tournament game that'll be scheduled for Friday. That'll be between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Sacramento Kings. So yesterday, one play, man, I had the Warriors. And this shouldn't say April the 12th. It should say April the 16th. But I had the Warriors on the money line. Talked about 11 to play. Gave it out as a 2-unit play. And, the Sacramento Kings happened. We'll just leave it at that. Brutal loss yesterday. I don't want to get into it. I could kind of break the game down, but it is what it is. Golden State's done. Sacramento advances. And you guys see the updated numbers. So on the season, and I didn't update this, so this should be down to 38.98 units instead of 40. But that's what I finished on the season. And then, of course, you guys see the update. It was only one play for me yesterday. Glad I stayed away from the Lakers game because I really thought that the Pelicans had a chance to win. But so I would have clearly went 0-2 yesterday. But glad I stayed away from that game. And I'll take the 2-unit loss and keep it pushing. First game up, we have, and shout out to everybody that's in the comment section, man. Prolific, I see you in here before we get started on this game. What's up, Tasha? She says, Chris, you were happy your boys won. I was super happy last night, Tasha, watching the Lakers. I talked about this just real quick on this comment. I talked about this in yesterday's show. And one of the reasons why I couldn't take the Pelicans is because the Lakers did finish the season, I want to say, like 11-3 in their last 14 games. So to me, that showed me that they were already kind of ramping up to get into playoff form. I talked about it yesterday, them being 7-3 in their last 3 games. And I broke down those losses, right? They lost to the Warriors, to the Timberwolves. Those were games that AD didn't play the full game. And then the Indiana spot, the third loss that they had, the third most recent loss that they had was a fatigue spot and a revenge spot. It was a third game in 4 nights for the Lakers and a major revenge spot for the Pacers after they had just lost in Indiana as well. You see the Lakers, man, they're playing really good basketball, even playing some defense. So, yeah, I was happy about that, Tasha. L Boogie says top of the morning. Good night of basketball. Let's keep it going. If you didn't have any bets, it was a real good night to watch basketball. I fell asleep on the Golden State game, but I knew that they were cooked by the time I fell asleep. What up, Peasy? It's top of the morning. The Warriors are disgusting. Timeline, appreciate you for tapping in. Eric, Zachariah, Justin, my guy. Jamie says FanDuel was messing with Clay's line right before tip. He went 0 for 10, I think. Yeah, he did go 0 for 10, 0 for 6 from 3, I think. He said you could tell something was off. Yeah, man, it's difficult waking up thinking that the Warriors aren't going to be in the playoffs out there, going 19-2 as road favorites this season and just needing to win the game yesterday. One Doobie says Clay and Green were complete garbage. Steph is the only one holding down the team. They got a lot of work to do for sure. Livestone says, Chris, you sound sad, man. We all sad, bro. Clay was I'm not sad, man. I just hate giving out losers, for one. But I understand the sports gambling, right? Like we manage our bankroll. If you guys been with me long enough, we manage our bankrolls. Plenty more where that came from. Like we could fire off another, should be able to fire off tons more 2-unit plays. So sad to not see the Warriors in the playoffs, but yeah, we just keep it pushing. That's how betting goes. Sad Day says Warriors dynasty is over. PZ says Zion went crazy. He did go crazy. Justice says time to break up the Dubs. Barksdale, my guy. What's up, Barksdale? He says Clay and CJ McCollum were so bad. Yeah, they were. CJ ended up getting benched. Brandon Ingram didn't do much either. Yeah. I wasn't sad about the Laker game. No, I was happy about that, even though they do get the Denver Nuggets. So let's jump into it for today, man. We got the Atlanta Hawks and we have the Chicago Bulls. I talked about this game yesterday, right? The only thing is a couple things that I wanted to add, though, and the only reason I kind of still want to talk about the game, I haven't placed a bet on the game, just being fully honest and transparent with you guys. I do think there is a bet that I want to place, though, and I'll let you guys know, especially the members, if I do end up getting there with the bet. I think there's a couple different ways you can play it, and I kind of, the more I talk it out and think about it, the more I kind of like the Chicago Bulls in this spot. I didn't bet them. The Atlanta Hawks, I talked about them yesterday being just this really Jekyll and Hyde team, and they do have the advantage from the three-point line, right? I talked about them being the Atlanta Hawks being a really good three-point defense. I'm sorry, the Atlanta Hawks being a really good three-point shooting team. Chicago Bulls, they don't match up really well with this Atlanta Hawks team. As far as being able to defend the three-point line. For whatever reason, that's been Chicago Bulls' Achilles heel throughout the season. I gave you guys the numbers yesterday. I'm not going to jump into them, but just know that Atlanta, if they're going to keep this game close, they're going to potentially have a chance to win. If you're taking the Atlanta Hawks, you are heavily reliant upon them being able to rebound the basketball and to knock down some open shots from the outside. This team does not, typically score the ball a lot of ways, but the thing that got me thinking and got me leaning a little bit more towards Chicago here is that Atlanta, I don't really want to trust them too much with Trae Young coming back. We talked about them not looking good, and I don't want to lay points with the Chicago Bulls. I gave you guys those numbers too. I think there's something like 2-6, 2-5 straight up and against the spread or something like that over the last, handful of games where they've been a home favorite. But the Atlanta Hawks are just looking a little bit more into it. So the Bulls have beaten the Hawks twice this season already. They lost one game to the last game they actually lost to the Atlanta Hawks. They lost 101 to 113. The Bulls were on the second leg of a back-to-back in that spot. And I'm pretty sure it was a fatigue spot as well. It happened on April the 1st. So about 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago. And I don't know the logistics of it. Like, I think, of course, the Atlanta Hawks were laying points in that game. And then the other two games, they were dogs. I'm sorry, the Bulls was laying points in that game. And typically, like we always talk about, you don't want to take them as a favorite. They were dogs in the other two games. But here's my thought process, man. I don't really want to trust Trae Young on the Atlanta Hawks. I think Atlanta, I was looking into this, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys. I was looking into this. Let me see if I can pull it back up real quick. So I was looking into some of the numbers with Trae Young on the floor for Atlanta. Now we know Trae Young has only been back for about two games. He played in the game against the Timberwolves. Then he played in the last game of the season against the Indiana Pacers as well, and they got the doors blew off of him. So I'm gonna give you guys some numbers real quick. And this was one of the reasons why I kind of leaned a little bit more towards Chicago in this spot. So first thing I looked at was the Hawks with Trae Young. Without Trae Young this season. So without Trae Young this season, the Atlanta Hawks were 14-14 straight up, 13-15 against the spread, 16-12 to the over. So mediocre team, right? Just 14-14. This is without Trae Young. They were losing games by average of 1 point. They lost the last 4 games. They failed to cover the last 4 spreads, and they did go 1-3 straight up in the last 4 games with Trae Young on the floor. And that does include, without Trae Young on the floor. So then you get into it with Trae Young on the floor. The Atlanta Hawks are actually a worse team. They lose by an average of 3 points, which is what you see the margin at for this game. Remember, I just told you they lose by 1 point without Trae Young. And that's across, we got a pretty big sample size because he missed so much time. 14-14 is 28 games. So they finished 14-14 straight up. They finished, like I said, 13-15 without Trae Young. With Trae Young in, 22-32 straight up. So that win percentage drops from 50% down to 40% with Trae Young on the floor. You look at the ATS record, they finished 16-38 with Trae Young on the floor this season. They were typically favorites by about 1 point. This is home and road. And the really alarming thing is that the last 6 games with Trae Young on the floor, overall, this team went 0-6 straight up and 1-5 against the spread. Like, the defense not really stopping anybody. 6 of their last 8 opponents have actually gone over their team total. Like, I just don't trust Atlanta with Trae Young on the floor the more I was, kind of looking into it. And this was the real kicker for me. So, of course, we've been talking about this throughout the entirety of the season. With Jalen Johnson on the floor, the Atlanta Hawks are a much better team. With Jalen Johnson off the floor, then not quite. So when I look at the Hawks with Trae Young on the floor and Jalen Johnson off the floor, it's happened 16 times this season. The Atlanta Hawks finished 4-12 straight up, 3-13 against the spread, losing by an average of 5 points. They've actually lost their last 5 in a row and only covered one of those 5 games. And that was the one against the Timberwolves, where the Timberwolves were laying 12.5 points the other day. So I say that to say this. I can't get there with Atlanta. I told you guys, my feelings have kind of been mixed, but the deeper I dug into this one, the more I feel like the Chicago Bulls should win the game. Now, do you want to trust Chicago Bulls? Nah, it's not that easy just to feel, for me anyway, it's not that easy to feel like I just want to trust the Chicago Bulls. But if I'm playing the game, I am looking towards Chicago, man. I would probably take them on the money line. It's probably something that I'm going to really think very, very heavily about. I don't like the price. I typically don't give anything out that's, below like a minus 145. And I think you can get them like on Unibet, which is about to shut down, at like a minus 148. But outside of that, I think it's like, and Bet Rivers has a minus 148. DraftKings also has a minus 148. But that's the way I would look. And I don't like, that's gross to lay that much juice, in my opinion. Like, I'm not a big juice layer type guy, but this is like minus 155, minus 156 on FanDuel. I do think Chicago Bulls are the right side in this game. I think that they win. Let's see what you guys are saying about it. And this is in conjunction with all the other notes that I gave you guys already as well. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Malik says, need the Bulls to win. I got a couple trends I'll send to you later today. Appreciate that, Malik. Dano says, good morning. Let's get it. Frankie says, sorry, I'm late, but I hit the like button. I've been flip-flopping on the game. I'm back on the Hawks, but I was just on the Bulls. And it's a difficult game, man. I always encourage people that if it's not something that you absolutely love, you don't have to play it. Like, you absolutely don't have to play it. You can watch the game. You can make a live bet. You don't have to play it. You don't have to play it. Malik says, the key to beating the Hawks is through the bigs. When the Bulls won, Vooch, DeMar, and Drummond had big nights. So I would agree with this. And Drummond, I thought he was listed as out. He's actually listed as questionable. He could play in this game tonight. Snag says what up, Snag? He says he liked Garrison Matthews over 3.5 points here at minus 160 on ESPN Bet. He also says Vooch and Trae Young double-double is plus 129. Via ESPN Bet, he has a 2-unit play for him on that. Did you put those together, Snag? No, it shouldn't be. There should be 2 separate bets. Cleve the guy said, yeah, I don't trust Young, but I also said the same thing about Zion, and I don't trust CJ. I don't know what happened in Clay. It was bad. Yeah, it was real bad for Clay, man. Timeline likes Trae over his 10 assists in this game. He also thinks the Bulls minus 3 and on the money line. Top of the morning to Jose. Jamie says, gotta ride with the city tonight. Bulls money line and the minus 3. Murdoch Lopez says, I like the over. And we talked about just adjusting the total a little bit. We talked about the over yesterday, right? Like, I think it'll be difficult for just keeping this comment up for a second. I do think it'll be difficult for this game to go under. And I forgot my guy's name, but I gave him a shout out yesterday. He sent me the breakdown, and this was when the total was at 218. You see it all the way up to 224. I would agree, man. Atlanta's so real quick. If I go back through it and just tell you guys what I just told you, I want to give you guys some numbers real quick. So with Trae Young off the floor this season, the Atlanta Hawks games average 225 points, 112 to 113, and they're typically losing by a point. That's across 28 games without Trae Young. With Trae Young in, the score jumps from 113 to 114 to 121 to 124. So they're giving up a boatload of points when Trae Young is on the floor. Offense, of course, gets better. Defense, of course, averaging 8 more points, but giving up, 9 more points? Giving up 11 more points with Trae Young is on the floor. The games are averaging 245 points with Trae Young on the floor. And I know that the Bulls are not a great offensive team. Then when you look at Trae Young on the floor and Jalen Johnson off the floor, then the total shoots up to about 234 points. So 130, 119 is what the Hawks average with Trae Young on the floor and Jalen Johnson off the floor, and they're giving up 124.8 points, so almost 125 points per game. 10-6 to the over in this spot. It does make a lot of sense here, man. The only reason I didn't pull the trigger is because in-season tournament games do typically trend towards the under, and that's not every single one of them. Both games went under last night, of course, and I can just have even though the Atlanta Hawks defense is terrible, the Bulls offense just can be very, very stagnant. The only reason I didn't play it, and I've lost 4 points of value, but this makes a ton of sense to me. Makes a ton of sense to take the over in the game. So just wanted to hit on that. Tariq says, good morning, Chris. Does Trae Young really want to tarnish his name and his stats in this situation? I don't know if he want to, but I know that the Bulls want to get into the playoff and make some noise. I think in totality, Atlanta is probably the better team, but I'm not without Jalen Johnson, not without Onyeka Okongwu, not with Trae Young being worked back into the rotation so late into the season. Like, only having 2 games back. I just think that that's difficult, man. We see even Brandon Ingram yesterday, even with the minutes increase, it's difficult. I think Karl-Anthony Towns, same exact thing. Karl-Anthony Towns, Trae Young, these guys being worked back and like that chemistry on the floor. You can't simulate like game time, game speed, people like roles diminishing. Like, so yeah, I don't think that the Hawks are the right side in this game. Jason says Heat plus the 4.5 and Bulls -3 for him. Snag says, only the double-doubles are together. Oh, okay, so the double-doubles together. What up, David? Top of the morning to you. Snag says, I think the Bulls find a way. No Jalen Johnson and Okongwu changes things drastically, and I would agree, Snag. I definitely agree with this. Timeline says Hawks centers under-rebounding. Okay. Frank says Bulls don't have enough scoring. Got to take the points with Atlanta. But Atlanta's defense has been so bad, though, Frank. Like, I understand what you're saying. And that's what makes the game so difficult, right? I don't think anybody feels super definitive about this, at least in my opinion. I know I don't, which is why I'm talking it out with you guys. Murdoch also says, Chicago typically scores lower than their opponents in the first quarter, and I would agree here. Justin says, I'm a lifetime Hawks fan. Have Hawks plus 3.5 in my pocket, no longer with confidence. Justin backing off his pick right here, but still got it in his pocket. And it's still time to jump on the other side, too, though, Justin, if you want to hedge out. T-Money says Hawks are a better team with no Trae. Could agree here. Derek says Trae Young is a fraud. Bulls do everyone a favor and send this sorry Hawks team home. I wouldn't say he's a fraud. I would say Trae Young probably fits better with a different team. This team does function a lot better with DeJounte Murray at the helm of the point guard position. I agree here. Timeline says, wow, Clint rebounds gone. He says under 13.5 at -160, too much juice. And Javon says, what up, Chris? Who's your prediction to win it all this year? I'm going to save this question, Trayvon, for the season long. I will be on at 4 p.m. with Cal Kerms on his YouTube channel, but I'll do another separate video for all my members and all my subscribers as well, going through future bets, looking at series prices. But short answer, Trayvon, is I can't count out Denver to beat the champs, you got to beat the champs. I know everybody thinks Boston. I'm not saying that Boston doesn't win, but I do think that, in totality, the hardest play to guard in basketball is the DeJounte Murray and Jokic pick and roll. If you've been watching basketball long enough, you know that it's something that you're going to like. Good luck trying to figure it out. And I do think that they have enough off the bench, like Christian Braun. Like I think the Denver is plus 300. That's the way I would be playing if I hadn't placed any future bets though. But when I get a chance to really dive into it, you guys will know, and I will be sharing my thoughts here. Justin says not hedging or buying out, going down with the ship only because it's my boys. That makes a lot of sense. Snag, I do like this one, and that's crazy that they're at -125 already. I saw them when it was -110, so I definitely gotta get there. Like I said, I just wanted to, do all my due diligence. But I do like the Mavs to beat the Clippers. Jamal is the engine into the car in Denver, and that's a fact. He absolutely is, man. A different team without him. So yeah, I don't think I want to crown Boston quite just yet. Let's keep pushing, man. Let's get into another game. The last game we have on the board, very interesting game. And this line is kind of all over the place. Well, at least it was. Let me just double check it real quick. So 5.5 look like it's a consensus, but you can get a couple fives. It's a couple fives out there. And the total is 208, 208.5, depending on where you're shopping. This is a difficult game here. First and foremost, I do think we gotta make sure, you gotta make sure Embiid's gonna play. I know that he is listed as probable, but the Sixers, man, remember, this isn't the elimination game where if you lose, you go home, right? So if Philly feels like, Embiid isn't 100%, I could see him potentially sitting out. I think he's gonna go though. I also saw that DeAnthony Milton got rolled out. I think KJ Martin is still listed as questionable as well. And then on the Miami Heat side, I think big injury news here, in my opinion anyway, is that Terry Rozier did get rolled out yesterday. And I'm not sure if that's what moved the line. I see Kevin Love came off the injury report because yesterday I told you guys Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier, and Kevin Love were all listed as questionable. So Duncan Robinson upgraded to probable. Terry Rozier listed as out, and Kevin Love also off the injury report. So I talked about this yesterday, man. You get a Heat team that's played really, really well in this road. They're 24-17 straight up on the road, 24-15-2 against the spread on the road. Like, this is a very profitable road team. And they finished the season 7-3 on a 7-3 run. They went 6-3-1 against the spread in their last 10 games. So the Miami Heat have been hot. This is their first road game after 3 straight home games. I talked about that yesterday, but it's so difficult to bet against Philly right now. So I went through this game X's and O's wise, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see the spread kind of, like moving towards Philly's, way is, I talked about this, man. What do the Heat do really, really well? The best aspect of the Heat is their defense. This is a team that prides themselves on the defensive end. I think they finished the season with the 5th best defensive rating. The problem here for the Miami Heat is that they're playing against another really, really good defensive team. Like, the Sixers have really turned it up. Remember, I talked about this yesterday. In the 5 games since Embiid returned, Philly has allowed just 104.2 points per game. They've held 4 of their 5 opponents under 105 at 105 points or less. And I think Miami, a team that really struggles to score the basketball all throughout the season. Remember, they finished 21st in points scored per 100 possessions. They were 24th in offensive rebounds, so not getting a lot of second chance points. Will have to pride themselves on the defensive end a tad bit more, because I do think that they're going to struggle to score here. I think Philly is kind of ramping up, man. I do think that Philly's ramping up, and I get it. The Heat were a team that, made a really, really deep playoff run last year, ideally because of their defense and their three-point shooting. They got hot at the right time, started shooting 40% from the three-point line pretty much against whoever they were playing almost every single night. I don't think that that's going to happen here. I think I like the matchup for Maxey playing against, some of those guards. I think without Terry Rozier, that puts even more pressure on guys like Tyler Hero to be able to kind of score the basketball. I know that Bam is a really good player. I know that, Jimmy Butler also hates the Philadelphia 76ers for the whole Tobias Harris thing. But in my opinion, I would only be able to look towards Philly in this game. With the number already, like moving a point, a whole point. It was at 4.5 when it opened. Remember, now it's up to 5.5. I don't know what big of a margin the Philadelphia 76ers are going to win by, but I do think that Miami is not going to win this game. Miami probably is going to win. They'll win the next game against whoever wins between Atlanta and Chicago, but I don't think that they're going to win this game. I really, really don't. I think that the key pieces that the Philadelphia 76ers have, guys like Buddy Hield, guys like Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris stepping up, Kyle Lowry being a really big contributor for this team. I just think that Miami, I don't think that Miami's going to win the game. I do think that depending on where the spread closes at, they could potentially cover. But if it was still 4.5, I probably would lay it with Philly. If I can get a 5, I probably will take it with Philly. I do think that Philly's the right side in this game. And as far as the total, it's difficult because both of these teams have been playing really, really good defense. I told you guys that games typically go under, in the play-in tournament in general. I think it's a very, very strong trend. I forgot exactly what it was. Let me look it up real quick. I can tell you guys what that trend is. Let's see. So 15-5 to the under are play-in games. So that's 75%. And it looks like the last 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 of the last 13 have actually gone under. So yeah, it's a very strong trend towards the under. Miami's team total is like 101.5. Philly's team total is like 106.5, I think. I thought Philly team total over 106.5. And I think it could potentially still get there. But if Philly's playing really good defense, they might not need to score that many points. So I guess a lean towards Philly minus the 5 and a really strong lean towards their team total to go over as well. I know Miami's been a really good defensive team, probably the best road defense in the league. But I think Philly should be able to score in this spot if everybody's rolled in. So I guess I would, I'm not sure what to do with Miami though. Like Miami's a team that plays very, very slow. They're a team that doesn't, utilize the fast break at all. And if their threes are falling, they can contribute to the total. But if Miami's threes are not falling, like it could be really, really difficult. So I guess, as I'm kind of talking it out, I would lean a little bit more towards an under because the thing about Miami, and we talked about this in yesterday's show, Miami shoots a ton of threes. So if they're going in, they can contribute towards an over. But if Miami threes are not going in, they could really, really not contribute to an over. And it could, definitely be an under type game. So one of the things that we talked about last 2 weeks, you look at, the Philadelphia 76ers defense, they've been the third best defense from above the break three, which is Miami shooting 26% of their shots from there. They're 17th in above the break three frequency. But Miami, they live and die off the corner three. So corner three frequency, third. They're also third in accuracy. But Philly's defense has been really, really good in that shot zone. So it's really Miami's not a team that really attacks the paint. They shoot the 6 fewer shots at the rim. And they can really, really struggle to score the basketball outside of, like getting those threes to fall consistently. So I guess I'm talking myself into a Miami team total under, but 101.5 is just an extremely low number. So I'll stay off of that. But I guess a lean towards their team total under, Miami at 101.5, thinking that Philly really brings it on the defensive end. Let's see what you guys are saying about this one. I know there was a lot. Let's see. A lot of comments on this game. Let's go back up. So Javon says, I think the Mavs make it to the finals, at least the Western Conference Finals. Okay. Snag liking his Heat. I knew that was coming. Timeline says Heat on the money line. Tasha says waiting on the 76ers versus Miami. Hard. Yeah, it is. Livestone says Embiid first quarter points. 10 first quarter points. He has been crushing the line. Shout out to my guy Dream and Matt Moda. I know they've both been on this one. Embiid over his first quarter points been killing. Derek says Maxey over 23.5 points to 30. He has 30 in 3 of his last 4 games. Miami 1 miss equals 12 points on 4 for 20, 1 for 8 from the 3-point line. He also likes to be under 30.5 points. Says he's 5-19 to the over, so 19-5 to the under here in the playoffs in the 2022-2023 season, including 4-0 to the under versus Miami. That's a good cap there, Derek. If you don't think Embiid's if you think that the Eric Spoelstra is going to be able to implement a game plan that's going to slow Embiid down and make everybody else beat him, couldn't talk you off. S-Dot says, morning, Chris. Finally caught a live a morning spot. I know my guy S-Dot probably like Snag. Probably like the Miami Heat today. Timeline says Bam under on his points, rebounds, and assists. Derek says, is this a regular season or postseason? It's definitely the postseason. Oh, for Maxey. Public is moving it. S-Dot says Maxey over 29.5 points and assists. Timeline likes. Ramping up for the HC. S-Dot says Heat plus the 5.5. Timeline says. Derek says Miami played Philly in the East semis in 2022. I remember that. And Snag says Jaime Jaquez Jr. over 7.5 points and assists is 85% this season. That number that low, Snag? No way, man. No way Jaime Jaquez's number is at 7.5. That's no way. I gotta look into that. I didn't look into props. T Money says Bam is going to have his hands full with Embiid. No, did he? The NBA should have never played that commercial yesterday prior to the game. I'm not sure which commercial you're talking about here, S-Dot. Heat culture for Snag. What up, Nando? S-Dot says Miami isn't thinking about next week. That's not how they work. I agree. But having that in your back pocket is helpful, though. Estai says Miami, especially if you're not the better team. And didn't the Miami Heat lose the first playing game last year? If I'm not mistaken, they lost the first playing game to the Chicago Bulls, right? I want to say they lost the first playing game last year. What up, BK? Nano says, what about the total? Both games went under last night. I like the over here. It's extremely low total. Too low for me to want to put my money on the under. But I could definitely see it cashing as well. Let's see. Snack says, Chris, in my opinion, it's not that big of an issue. Terry being out, he's not right, and he knows that. And so does the team. Same with Duncan. But Duncan is listed as probable, though, Snack. You think he's going to play? And I say this, right? This is a part of the cap as well. I think Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, those are guys that I do not trust on the defensive end, which in my opinion is what leads to the open three-point shots, because a lot of Miami's defense, if you watch the games, Miami has to double a lot. Like they double off of they have to send help when Tyler Hero is in one-on-one matchups, when Duncan Robinson is in one-on-one matchups. I think Philly matches up a little bit better. And I like Coach Nick Nurse's defensive schemes. I know he's not a better coach than Spoelstra. I'm not going to go that far. But I do like Nick Nurse as a defensive-minded coach here. Let's see. Go Bulls and Philly for Tariq. Have a great day, my guy. Appreciate you for tapping in. Turnovers is what got us that last matchup. And it could be turnovers again here. It could definitely be turnovers again. Murdoch likes Embiid first quarter points over 8.5 here. BK says, I trust Miami coach to rally them through. Jimmy Buckets is different in playoff mode. Yeah, he is. He definitely is. But will he be enough, though? Will he be enough, BK? Will says, what up, though, Chris? Rise and grind, everyone. Hit the like button. Let's continue to help the channel grow. I appreciate this comment, Will. Definitely appreciate that, man. I just talked about the total. Hopefully you heard that. Coach Justin says Maxey over 30.5 points and assists is in his pocket. And Estai says he bought the money line at plus 170, looking for a better line. Peasy says he's leaning towards the under as well. Will says Tyrese Maxey over his first quarter points at 5.5. Dow says join late. Do you think Miami will get the minor upset? I do not think so, Dow. Now, of course, anything can happen, man. We saw the Golden State Warriors lose yesterday, but Philly, man, and I didn't go through a complete cap, but, man, Philly is the number one defensive rated team over the last 2 weeks. And if you look at the strength of schedule, they have played the much easier schedule. Like Miami has played a much more difficult schedule. But, I mean, Philly's defense has just been – I mean, they've been balling, giving up 106 points per 100 possessions. Like I said, best in the league. They're number one in effective field goal percentage. Third best team in net rating over the last 2 weeks at a plus 11.5. And Miami, don't sleep on them as well. This team has been pretty good offensively and defensively over the last 2 weeks as well. I just think that I think Miami could cover. I do think Miami could cover, which is why I didn't play the game. But if I had to play the game, it would be Philly. It would definitely be Philly. Estai says 76ers love transition. Heat are one of the best transition defenses. This is a good point. I like this point from Estai. And this is true. So Miami is not a team that really runs a fast break. But just to put some numbers behind what Estai is saying here, I'll pull this up real quick. You guys bear with me for 1 second. Philly has been running the break a lot, and this is something that would lean towards the under. So looking into this, Estai says 76ers love transition. Heat are one of the best transition defensive teams, and B still nursing. He will slow down their efforts. Take Tyler over his points. Should be easy money. So looking at Philly, last 2 weeks they have slowed down a tad bit. Philly is 19th. I'm sorry. They have not slowed down. They are 4th in transition frequency, 3rd in points scored via transition. They're averaging about 5.1 points per 100 possessions via every transition opportunity. The Miami Heat, 6th in frequency. So they do limit their opponents to the 6 fewest fast break opportunities. The middle of the pack as far as giving up points in transition, giving up about 3.4 per 100 possessions. So this is an advantage that Philly typically has in their back pocket that could be neutralized here. So I agree with this, Estai. Jamie says just need your best. Okay, for today even if it's a player prop. Yeah, I'll share if I had to make a play what it would be at the end. Will says Miami can cover, but they are going to finish tonight. But they're going fishing tonight. I read that wrong. Yeah, they're not going fishing though, because they'll get a chance to play the winner of Atlanta and Chicago. So not quite going fishing. Okay, says it's Heat plus the points for me. Frankie says I think his usage has been going down since Terry Rozier. But since Rozier is out, I took Jaime Jaquez over his points. Philly full game easy, John says. Snag says, yeah, we did lose and we made it to the finals. That is a fact. But my point, Snagged, in that is that even if you lose, you get another chance, right? So the first playing game doesn't mean that much to the full season, because it's not like you're done. So I agree. What about Bam and Joel both to hit a double-double? I mean, this should be a bunch of rebound opportunities. So I could see this. I can't believe Snag not on something like this. Bam and Joel to get a double-double. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I would love that. He struggled to score, John says. Cole says 76ers and Hawks to win, and over in the 76ers game, under in the Hawks game. So a bunch of plays there. Chad likes, what up, Chad? He likes Jaime Jaquez over he said points at 6.5. What the? Yeah. I didn't believe that. I got to look into that, but I'm guessing it's confirmed now. And then Dano says, I don't see why everyone keeps saying Bam in trouble. The most Embiid scored in a playoff game against Bam was 24. Faded his points at 30.5. And he's kind of banged up. Bam going to eat. Bam different in the playoffs. I said this at the top of the show. The timeline said it's perfect for Maxey. Personally, I don't think Duncan plays. His back has actually been a real bad issue. I agree with this, Snack. I'm not sure how he feels, though. I haven't really been monitoring y'all injury report, but I could see that. Dow says, thanks, Orlando to beat Cavs as massive value on the money line. We're going to get into this one. We'll get into this one on a different video. Playoff Jimmy +5 is hard not to take it. I agree with that, Peasy. JL says stats are out the window when Jimmy playoff bucket shows up. That's the only stats we need to figure out. So I feel conflicted about this. Like I can understand Jimmy, playoff Jimmy being a thing. Remember, Jimmy didn't do that great in the playoffs last year. It was the rest of the guys that was hitting those wide open threes. Like, y'all got to go back and really deep dive into it. It wasn't necessarily Jimmy had some really good games. Yeah, I'm not taking it away from him, not trying to minimize what he did, but it was a lot of those other guys that were stepping up, hitting shots. Remember, they shot so well from the three-point line collectively. In my opinion, that's what took them to the promised land. Their ability to be able to break down defenses and find open shooters. And they were knocking them down at a very, very high rate, a lot higher than what they shot in the regular season. So if Miami can get those threes to go in, this could look like a totally different playoff, and they could potentially, make a magical run like they did last year. BK says, would a first half under be a look? Yeah, I think so. Miami plays slow. Philly plays slow. If you do think that Philly's offense is going to be transition offense is going to be affected by Miami's really good transition defense, yeah, absolutely first half under could be a look. Jose likes Kelly Oubre over his 13.5 points. Jay Fuller says Tyler Hero X factor this playoffs. He absolutely could be. Like if he can go off, Tyler Hero could be the guy. Remember, he broke his hand last year, right? So he wasn't a part of a lot of that run last year. BJ says 76ers win. BK says Embiid likes to draw fouls. I only worry about the Heat players getting in foul trouble. Chill says, sorry to be off topic. They laying 7.5 with the Lakers. Denver, I want to bet it right now. Help. I'm not helping you on that one right now, Chill, because I haven't looked into it. I do think, it's difficult to win in Denver, of course. And the Lakers, kryptonite, have been the Denver Nuggets. There's something like 0-8 against them in the last 8 games. Got swept in the playoffs last year. Haven't been able to beat them this year, but the number opened at 6 last night, and I see it go up to 7.5. I also see it come back down. So first game of the series, I'm probably not going to bet, but I do like that the Lakers at least get the rest of the week to kind of, rest. They get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so they will be a little bit rested. I do think, I don't know. I don't know about that game. I got to dive a little bit deeper into it. It's really difficult for me to want to take the Lakers. They've lost me so much money, even dating back to the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets. So, not on that game right now. Jared says Jimmy had a very good first round, but it was Gabe, Bam, and Caleb that carried them the rest of the way. And this is a fact. If you go in and look at it against the Bucks, he cooked them. Remember what he did to Drew Holiday. It's replays in my head over and over again when he hit that game winner to get them to eliminate them. And that's when the Heat offense was clicking. I think they were scoring like 120 points per game in the first round in the playoffs last year against the Bucks defense. Up and Lock says Embiid double in the win. Depending on the odds, I couldn't talk you off of this at all. Tasha says Lakers to cover. Will says I'm looking at Kevin Love props as well. Up against the small second unit against Philly. With his experience, is usually excels in type of games like this. This is a good point, Will. I couldn't talk you off Kevin Love. Just need him to be out there. Chad says he likes Denver 1-10 margin at plus 170. So as long as Denver doesn't win by 11 or lose the game, Chad wins the win by 11 or more or lose the game. This could be a really good way to play it, Chad. I couldn't talk you off. That way you have a spread. The spread is 1-10. You just you need them to win the game and not to win by double digits. I couldn't talk you off of this at all. I've seen a lot of people make money off this market specifically. I know a lot of sports books don't offer it, but some sports books definitely offer it. So couldn't talk you off of this one at all, Chad. Just Denver to win the game. Till says, thanks, bro. My team, LA, my team. Yeah, LA, my team too, but I don't bet them often, especially against Denver. So yeah, we really dug deep into those two games. And like I said, I haven't made a bet yet. Have not made one single bet on today's game. But as I kind of mentioned, man, if I had to play them, I know Miami's been really, really good, but I would be looking at the -5 with Philly. And I do think Hawks Bulls goes over the total for a lot of the reasons that I gave you guys. 222, you may be able to find some 221s in the half. We have missed 3 points of value, and the totals do go under in playing games, but I do like the over in this one specifically. Maybe even a Bulls team total over. I think it's like 116. 112, I can't remember. It's either 112 or 116. Real quick, let me. I don't want to give you guys anything. I did look at it. I just can't remember exactly what it was. Let me find that Bulls team total real quick. Not that I put $1 on it because I didn't, but Bulls team total is 111.5 on ESPN Bet and 112 pretty much everywhere else. So, yeah, I do think that the Bulls can score. I do think that they're going to score, especially with Trae Young out there. Like, I trust Billy Donovan in this one game to be able to score against an Atlanta team that's giving up 125 points pretty much with Trae Young in the lineup and no Jalen Johnson out there for rebounding and scoring and defensive purposes. So, Bulls team total over. Philly minus the 5, I think, is still available on some books. And this game to go, that game to go over as well would be the way that I'm kind of looking. But we still got time. Like, you don't have to rush it. You don't have to, bet early. I'm one of those players that like this. I'm one of those bettors that like to, if I something that I absolutely love, I'll go ahead and take it early. But if not, I'm cool with, kind of staying off of it as well. The Bulls are also down to 2.5. You can get a 2.5 at Caesars right now as well. So the line's gonna move throughout the day. In Philly, you can get I don't see no more 5s for Philly. It's 5.5 pretty much everywhere. And maybe it's public money, but yeah, I do think Philly is the right side that they just didn't bet it. Highsmith points, Tanari says, Douglas says, if you feel the game is going to be close, playing both sides, first halftime, full time can be a look. That's a fact. I know you cash a lot with those, Douglas. So appreciate you for sharing that. Nando says, I won that 1-10 margin in the LA game. Tasha saying that team total is 112. Chad says, love the 1-10 margin on lines that are pretty spot on. Why not take the plus money? I agree, Chad. Something I'm going to have to look a little deeper into. I could not disagree with you, especially in competitive games, right, where you expect both teams to play hard. Most of the time, even if a big lead happens, the other team typically comes back. We saw that yesterday between the Lakers and the Pelicans. Lakers went up double digits. They only win the game by like 5, though. So could not talk you off here, Chad. Tasha says, after the Warriors lost, my head is spinning. Yeah, I didn't watch the second half, but I mean, I could tell by the first half that game was pretty much over with and done. Could not stop Keegan Murray, couldn't rebound the basketball. And it's going to be interesting then versus the Pelicans. So I'm going to dive deep into that game and let you guys know what I'm thinking about that one as well. But definitely appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. It's been a super long show. But, we went through the games thoroughly. Take whatever it is that you absolutely love. Resources for you guys as always for people who are, thinking about, trying to take their handicap into another, another level and wondering what resources I use. They're all here, as well as the beat writer list. Somebody DM'd me on Twitter, asked about the beat writer list. There is a beat writer list for you guys that are interested. I have a beat writer list that pretty much encompasses not every single, but most of the beat writers that cover the NBA teams. And if you go on my Twitter page and click on the list, you can find access to all of those, so you don't have to search them individually. So for people interested in that, go check that out as well. And that's what I have for you guys, man. Best of luck to you guys on whatever it is that you play. Like I said, I will be back at 4 p.m., not on my channel, but with Kyle Kerms, going through these games again. We'll also get into some futures. So I'll look a little bit deeper into the futures throughout the day today and have some strong opinions for you guys. And I'll probably end up placing some bets today on futures and for some of these game ones that'll happen over the weekend. So if you're interested, link for all my official plays will be in the description. Bet responsibly. Share the video if you guys can as well. Like the video. Subscribe if you guys are new. And best of luck on all your action, man. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out.